Something strange is happening with the 2026 World Cup, and it's catching everyone off guard. What was supposed to be America's big moment, an opportunity to showcase its strength, stability, and global influence, is slowly turning into a story of missed opportunities and fading trust. The excitement that once surrounded the tournament is being overshadowed by political drama, uneasy headlines, and a growing sense across the world that the United States may no longer be the dependable host it once claimed to be. Meanwhile, just north and south of the border, Canada and Mexico are stepping into the spotlight with surprising confidence. Their preparations are smooth, organized, and mostly free of the drama dominating American coverage. They're proving they might handle the world's biggest sporting event more effectively than anyone expected. So the question becomes unavoidable. What is really going on? Has the United States lost its grip on the World Cup dream, or is something much bigger unfolding behind the scenes? But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to help us beat the YouTube algorithm. The turning point came in September 2025 during a press conference in Washington. Cameras flashed as Donald Trump stepped up to the podium with his familiar confidence and declared, "If I see a place that isn't safe, we'll move the match somewhere else." It was a short sentence, but its impact was immediate. What was meant to sound bold ended up triggering a global conversation that spiraled far beyond American politics. Trump wanted to show strength. He wanted to remind the world that he still had influence over one of the most anticipated events in modern history. But the World Cup is not a campaign stop or a political bargaining chip. It is a global institution with rules, traditions, and expectations that exist outside national borders. Behind every tournament lies a web of contracts, investments, and livelihoods. Stadiums require billions in funding. Broadcasters commit years in advance. Small businesses in host cities rely on the tournament for life-changing economic opportunities. For players and fans, the World Cup represents unity, a shared celebration that crosses cultures, languages, and politics. That's why Trump's remark wasn't taken lightly. Within days, FIFA executives gathered behind closed doors. Vice President Victor Montaglani, responsible for North America, Central America, and the Caribbean, spoke in a tone that was calm yet firm. Football, he said, is bigger than any country and bigger than any political slogan. It was a reminder that FIFA's independence is not up for negotiation. In trying to assert American control, Trump had challenged an organization that prides itself on forcing politics to the background, and the timing couldn't have been worse. The tournament's infrastructure had been finalized years earlier. 16 cities across North America had been selected, and billions had already been invested in transportation, hospitality, and security. Every location had signed contracts, secured insurance, and committed to detailed hosting agreements. To relocate even one match would require dismantling a structure that took nearly a decade to build. Experts immediately pointed out that it was impossible. But the damage didn't come from actual policy. It came from perception. Within hours, headlines across Europe, Asia, and South America questioned whether the United States was truly prepared to host the world's biggest sporting event. Inside FIFA, quiet discussions about contingency planning resurfaced. No one wanted to admit it publicly, but the concern was real. Confidence in America's stability was weakening. Canada and Mexico suddenly looked like the safer, more reliable partners. And when Trump singled out cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia as unsafe, cities preparing for massive economic boosts, the fallout intensified. His comments didn't just cast doubt on security, they cast doubt on the entire American hosting project. FIFA's stance on political interference has always been clear. No government, no matter how influential, is allowed to control its operations. When reporters later asked Montaglani to respond to Trump's comments, he stayed composed. He said that if he reacted to every politician, he wouldn't have time to work. Presidents come and go, he added, but the World Cup goes on. The message echoed across the world. Football would continue, with or without America's full support. When the United States, Canada, and Mexico won the joint bid back in 2018, the moment was celebrated as a symbol of unity, three nations coming together to host one global event. At the time, optimism was high. Trump, serving as president then, had signed a formal guarantee to FIFA promising that all athletes, officials, and fans would be treated with fairness and respect. That commitment reassured the world. A democratic, organized America with experience hosting major events seemed ideal. But 7 years later, that image was fading. International media reported troubling statistics: over 500 mass shootings in a single year, widespread protests, and political turmoil that made the country look less stable and less predictable. For FIFA, logistical issues added another layer of concern. The U.S. visa process is notoriously complicated. Past host countries like Russia and Qatar had simplified entry rules during their tournaments, allowing fans to attend with only a passport and match ticket. In the United States, however, visitors face lengthy interviews, financial checks, and waits that can stretch for months. One journalist summed it up bluntly: "In Russia, you need a ticket and a passport. In the US, you need time, money, and a miracle." That frustration spread across social media, creating the sense that America was making the World Cup harder than it needed to be. As American politics grew more chaotic, sponsors began shifting attention toward Canadian and Mexican venues. Their reasoning was simple: fewer risks, fewer controversies, fewer surprises. What was meant to be a unified North American celebration was becoming a test of America's global standing. Fans around the world watched with disappointment. The World Cup has always been a rare moment where countries set aside disagreements. But the build-up to 2026 felt different. The spirit of unity was under pressure, and the U.S. was increasingly seen as the source of that tension. The situation escalated again when Trump commented on Boston's preparations. Speaking alongside Argentina's President Javier Milei, he suggested that matches might be pulled from the city because of unrest. Boston was preparing to host games at Gillette Stadium, one of the marquee venues. Again, Trump did not have the authority to make such changes, but his influence was still strong enough to raise concern. He criticized the city's mayor, Michelle Wu, and tied local issues, like late-night street takeovers involving dangerous car stunts, to broader political narratives. His framing added more fuel to the perception that American cities were descending into disorder. He expanded his warnings to Los Angeles, which is also hosting the 2028 Olympics, raising fears about both events. Then he targeted Seattle and San Francisco, calling their leaders radical left lunatics and questioning whether they could guarantee fan safety. 6 matches were scheduled for Seattle and 6 more for Levi's Stadium near San Francisco. And while Trump's remarks had no legal force, his close relationship with FIFA President Gianni Infantino made the comments impossible to ignore. Inside FIFA, the tension was building. Montaglani eventually clarified that host city decisions would remain strictly under FIFA's control. "Football," he repeated, "operates independently of political regimes." The statement was measured, but unmistakable. Many within FIFA feared that political interference could overshadow the tournament. Despite the tension, FIFA insisted that all 16 host cities remained fully secure and fully prepared. Internal reports found no issues that would justify relocation. Even the International Olympic Committee stepped in after Trump questioned Los Angeles' readiness for 2028. In a rare statement, the IOC expressed full confidence in the city, praising cooperation between the White House, the state of California, and local officials. With 3 years left, everything was on track, but the broader challenge remained. Global sports are becoming more entangled with politics than ever before. Hosting the World Cup is about more than stadiums. It's about national image, leadership, and reliability. When political rhetoric begins shaping those perceptions, the consequences extend far beyond the field. What do you think about everything happening ahead of 2026? Share your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our daily videos, and we'll see you in the next one.